Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is full of energy today. So I'm going to be talking about my theses. This is going to be a research of my theses. So this is going to be just a few pages of it. So first up, I'm not familiar with most of you. So I'm going to introduce myself and why I chose this PhD. My name is Mohamed Al Khalifa. I'm ex-investments and banking, ex-customs, ex-joint counter-terrorism, and now I'm in public security. So I've faced a lot of obstacles in my life. So this PhD thesis encouraged me in a lot of ways. So I'm mixing up crisis management, strategic flexibility, and electronic readiness. So first up, I'm going to be talking about a few things. I'm going to give you a few definitions, my aims, my research objectives, my literature gap, my research methodology, the model I'll be tackling, and the research questions. And last, I'll just have my conclusion. So, let's talk about crisis management. Crisis management, as we all know, is the process by which a business or other organizations deal with a sudden emergency situation. And there are 3 stages in crisis management. We've got pre, during, and after crisis management. So, I have a quick question for all of you. Which is the easiest stage? There isn't an easy stage. Because you're going to be facing an issue. Either way, crisis management is the type of management that you have to be ready for getting attacked, getting hacked, getting in trouble. Next up, we have strategic flexibility. Strategic flexibility is the ability of firms to respond and successfully adapt to changing environment. In strategic flexibility, we have different types of flexibilities. We have resource flexibility, coordination flexibility, flexibility of capabilities, and flexibility of information. I'm going to be talking about them bit by bit. So, the ability of resource flexibility is when the organization needs to deal with financial and human resources, knowledge and skills, which it gives the ability to have strategic options through different administrative systems. Next, we have coordination flexibility. So, coordination flexibility is the capabilities to create a new resource combination through an internal coordination process. Then we have the flexibility of capabilities. It's the ability of organizations to invest in skills and technology available for restructuring its various capabilities and to employ them and improve and develop the services. Flexibility of information. This is the last one. So, it's the extent in which the organization has a database to provide information on events encountered in the past and store the data and use it in the future. So, the flexibility of information. Can someone give me one company that uses this? Google. Bloomberg. Now if you have an Android, just say the word Rolex watch in front of it, without it unlocked, without it doing anything. It'll automatically, everyone has Instagram, right? It'll automatically put all that in your Instagram feed. So when you say Rolex watch, it's going to, when you're scrolling, you'll start seeing that type of information. So it's stored what you said, and it's using it in the future. So next up, we have electronic readiness. So it's identified as the capability of an economy or a country to prepare themselves for taking an active part in the process of operations and digitalization. So who else works in the electronic government over here? Recently, the entire Bahraini government was hacked. So we were not electronically ready for a hack, for a cyber attack. Next up, my research aim. The research aim is to examine how strategic flexibility as a contextual factor is impacting crisis management in the government authorities in the Kingdom of Bahrain. So that's how I'm going to investigate electronic readiness as a moderating impact. And through that, I've been facing several issues with my research. I'm going to be talking about that right now. So my research objective was to test the abilities of the authorities we have to deal with the crisis, testing them, doing force entry tests, and using strategic flexibilities to deal with the crisis as a moderating variable. So let's say, for example, now I've got the electronic government. We in Bahrain, we are the most advanced Gulf country today in the Middle East, and we have everything on the phone. We have our traffic, we have our passport services, we have our visas, we have literally everything in a smartphone. So having that in a tight package is quite good for a country very small. We are quite managed. Next up, we have the literature gap. My literature gap is going to have a wide range of information relating to the strategic flexibility and crisis management in the context of electronic readiness of the government authorities. It's going to have adequate information on successfully gathering the country-specific points of view to be studied in the context of Bahrain. Next, my research method, I'm going to be using quantitative study. So while I'm going to be using the quantitative study, I'm going to be distributing it around the government authorities. It's going to be having a scale of 1 to 5. So it's going to be usually multiple choice questions, really quick, really efficient. Then I'm going to be using my different type of statistical analysis. I'm going to be using factor analysis, regression analysis, descriptive statistics, and sequential equation methods. And I'm going to be also focusing on path analysis. So I'm going to be using several different types of statistics. Next up, I've got the research model I'm going to be focusing on. So I'm going to have three different hypotheses. So my independent variable is going to be strategic flexibility, and my dependent variable will be crisis management. So while I'm focusing on strategic flexibility, it's going to be jumping into my second hypothesis, which is going to be the flexibility types I was talking about, which is flexibility of capabilities, information, resources, and coordination. Then it's going to be sent as a dependent variable to the detection of early warning signals, damage, learning, prevention, and recovery. My third hypothesis will be my moderator variable. It's going to be electronic readiness, because this will have a direct connection on how we face a crisis, how we can send the message, how we can stop the issues as well. And my research questions that I'm going to be focusing on is, what is the level of strategic flexibility in government authorities in the Kingdom of Bahrain? Next, I'm going to be focusing on the level of crisis management in the government authorities, and lastly, the level of electronic readiness in the government authorities. My conclusion to the research I'm doing right now is the changing business dynamics we're having right now in the Kingdom of Bahrain, which is resulting in government authorities successfully go ahead with the establishment of a strong linkage between strategic planning, crisis management, electronic readiness, and other factors. So, the degree of flexibility exhibited by the countries of the Middle East region, however, varies significantly because let's say, for example, Dubai. Dubai has a different type of electronic readiness systems for the police. And who's been reading the news about the security, Arab security too? We've currently been sending our troops over there for the Arab security. They are currently facing difficulties because their way of managing a crisis is different from us. Thank you.